Hi, I'm Dave Williams. I'm a travel photographer from the UK, and I've just converted this van into a cabin on wheels. It's Coffee Fernweh. The Fernweh comes from the fact that it's German, it's a Mercedes, and it means wanderlust. And the coffee is cabin. It's my favourite place in the world, it's Iceland. And yeah, coffee means cabin in Icelandic. So this is a 2011 Mercedes-Benz Sprinter 313 CDI, which if you're in Europe, is the L3H2. If you're in America or Canada, it is the 170 because of the wheelbase being 170 inches. But essentially, it's a long wheelbase. On the outside, the paint down here is wrapped to black. It's the same stuff that they paint the liners of pickup truck beds with. So it's kind of rubberized, it's hard-wearing paint. And then up here, it's a military green, military vehicle paint. So again, it's hard-wearing and will take a lot of abuse, as you can see from the abuse I've already given it in the couple of months that I've been going around with it. There's been a few additions to the outside that I've done, including this window here. So let me just tell you, when you cut a hole in your van for this window or for the roof, and you'd cut a perfectly good piece of metal away, leaving a big hole behind, it's a pretty scary experience. But once it's done, it's pretty satisfying as well. And I'm glad I've put a window on each side. There's lots of security on this van, which I'll get into in a bit, but this is just pointing out one of those features. And then the wheel upgrade. This is probably my favorite thing all around. I took off the standard 16-inch wheels, and these are 18-inch wheels with massive Pirelli Scorpion All-Terrain Plus tyres put on top. They will go anywhere, including mud, snow and ice. So I can use them in the Arctic without any chains or any additional assistance like chains or grips or anything like that. So they're very expensive, but they're worth the investment. Let's have a look around at the front. Come on. Come on. Another thing that's kind of to do with the Arctic is the fact that you need to be able to see everything all the time. And in the dark, in the cold Arctic winter, it gets very, very dark. And there's a lot of wildlife. There's moose and reindeer roaming all over the country in northern Norway, Sweden and Finland, which is somewhere I'm going to end up pretty soon on in my trip. So up the top there, we've got a roof bar light, which shines the light way down the road and picks up a little bit in front of me as well. There's these two spots, one on each side, which light sideways into the bushes, so I can see if there are any animals in the bushes. And then down here, we've got rock lights, which light up any rocks or any potholes in the road. So as far as my visibility in the dark goes, I am absolutely covered. I basically bring the sun with me wherever I go. Do you want to have a look on the inside? Whilst a lot of the van's designed around, obviously, the cabin, I'm going to spend a lot of time driving, so I've had to think very carefully about how everything works here. So when I get in and turn the van on, firstly, I'm very comfortable. I have a overlanding sat-nav by Garmin. It's got a whole load of databases in it, including TripAdvisor, Michelin, iOverlander. It gives me a lot more than just directions. It tells me what I'm near as well that might be interesting or that I might want to have a look at. And then right here, I've got a Nexar dash cam. So it automatically turns itself on and starts recording every time I get in the van and back off again at the end. It sends me little clips to remind me where I've parked as well. If I forget where I've parked, it will send me a little clip to show me pulling up so I can remind myself where I am. But also it detects sudden braking or a potential crash and gives me a clip that I can send straight to the insurance company. So that's pretty cool. Up here, I've put all the controls for the lights that we've just seen on the outside. And interestingly, the ones at the front, which are the ones on the right, are also controlled by this big red switch. So if I've got all the lights blazing down the road and something comes the other way, if I hit that switch, it turns them all off straight away, kind of like what you do with your main beam on your indicator stalk. And it's pretty cool to have a big red button and no one knows what it does. The stereo obviously is fairly important. There's a lot of karaoke going on in this car or in this van. So as well as having the hands-free run through this and the reverse camera, I've added some speakers. There's some above my head There's some right down in the corners by the windscreen and in the doors, so I've got awesome sound. And what else have we got going on here? I've got the phone holder, which is magnetic, so I'll just put my phone there and I'm good to go. And over here we've got a tracker. This is a Garmin tracker that runs on the Iridium satellite network. So I can send my location to my friends and family, and I can have it tracking me on my website, so people that are interested in where I am can see exactly where I am all the time. That's on coffeefernvey.com or idavewilliams.com. This is a nifty little thing here. This is an altimeter, attimeter. It shows my attitude, not my attitude, but the attitude of the van, whether it's leaning to the left or right or up or down. So I know when I pull up somewhere and I want to sleep for the night, whether I'm level or not. That's the thing that helps me determine that. And everything else you see around here is pretty standard for a Mercedes Sprinter. If I come into the back though, you'll first notice that the seat beside me swivels. So it can spin all the way around to face into the back, and that really opens up the living area in the cabin. And if I didn't want to sit on the bench back there, I could sit on this passenger seat facing backwards straight in. And another consideration that I've given regarding filming and photographing myself, because obviously a lot of the adventure is to do with what I'm getting up to and where I am in the world. I've added some camera mounts. So straight up here, we've got a Platypod Ultra screwed into the ceiling that I can attach a GoPro to, which sits within arm's reach all the time. So I can record myself driving. It can go straight out the front window as well. Into the back, into the cabin. One of the considerations when I designed this is that I want to be able to get from the back to the front without getting out. And as you can see, it's very simple. You just step through. That involved getting the double seat that was there, that came with the van, removing the double seat and putting this single swivel seat in. That was hard work, but not as hard as the 4 seats that were here, that were bolted through the floor. And it must have taken me about a week to get them out with the rusted up bolts that were holding everything in place. But now it's done. You can see what I've done in the back here. So I've just mentioned that I wanted to get from the front into the back, or back into the front, without getting out of the van. The other things that I absolutely wanted were somewhere to sit, somewhere to sleep without having to build the bed every day, and somewhere to cook on the inside of the van. And because I'm going to cold places, or the plan is to go to a lot of cold places, I wanted all the water storage to be on the inside of the van so that it wouldn't be on tanks mounted to the bottom where it might freeze up. Let's go around this area first, I guess. From the front, there's loads of storage all around the top on both sides and at the front. And this is where things that I need to get to quickly and easily are stored. So there's a load of books here, toiletries. This is all camera equipment. This is my polar bear, as you can see. He lives there. Up at the front, there's a whole load of stuff to do with shopping. So all my bags and everything is there. There's a curtain that goes on the window on the door, Velcro, that's up there. Batteries, anything that I need to get to quickly that's nothing to do with photography or books or toiletries is there. And this side, this is all about coffee. This is the coffee cupboard. So everything in here, apart from the tea bags, is to do with making myself a good cup of coffee. The way I do that is I don't have fixed cooking facilities. I've got a sink with running water, and as you can see here, it's all connected in, it's all fancy looking, but there's nowhere to cook. And the reason is that the amount of countries I'm going to be going to is going to give me a problem with gas, where every country's got a different gas fitting, a different propane fitting, or a different kind of gas bottle, that it would just give me a headache. So if I come up with something else, different options for cooking, like you would when you're camping, that will solve those problems. So down here, there's a cooking stove that comes out onto the countertop, and it takes small cartridges. Also, I've got, what's it called? A camping gas. That can come and sit up here, and that can take its place. I've got a jet boil for boiling water very quickly. The fuel's down there for that. Basically, it looks like there's nowhere to cook, but actually there's so many different options that I've solved the problems that I would have of having the wrong connections, the wrong gas bottles, by simply just having lots and lots of different options. And it all just sits here where it can vent out through the door if I open the door a crack. And I've got all this space over here left over to do my preparing and my washing up and everything else. So behind me, the bench seat, all my cushions to make everything nice and comfortable, including my personalised Coffee Fernweh cushion that my sister got me. This is awesome. The bench seat hides a toilet that slides out. It's a chemical toilet, so it's kind of for emergencies only, but it's not really much of a problem. There's no smell that comes from it. Obviously, I've tried it all out and it's fine. I had to get through the fears that I'm sure everyone has to get through when they get a chemical toilet, but it's fine. And then the rest of it picks up to reveal 2 storage compartments inside. Most of the stuff in here is to do with photography and to do with the kitchen. Which brings us back over to the rest of the kitchen. Underneath the sink, just down here, in fact, you can see where the water goes in. So there's 2 tanks side by side. The fresh water tank on this side is filled up through anything through this funnel or through a hose that I can connect, and it carries 28 litres of fresh water that goes to this pump and straight into this tap. When it drains out, it goes into the tank beside it, which is the grey water or the wastewater tank, also 28 litres. And I just open a ball valve down on the floor and it drains straight out. So if I park over a drain or somewhere appropriate, depending on what I've put down the sink, I can empty it straight back out again. Beside that is the bin, and then there's a whole load of food storage. A chest of drawers at the end with more food storage and all my cutlery. And then we've got this nifty cupboard, which has got all my plates and all my pots and pans, and then a bit more storage for mostly charging related stuff. There's camera cables and there's a trail cam. When I park up and I want to see what's outside the van at night, this is very interesting. So I can just strap it to a tree. This is all quick access stuff. In terms of where I keep my actual cameras and my camera gear, well, that's all kind of well hidden. There is hidden storage that I'm not going to show you, and there is a safe bolted to the floor that I'm also not going to show you. And the reason I'm not going to show you is because you can watch the video and break into the van. But all that stuff is hidden away, tucked away, but it's in a place where I can access it if I need to. Below the cupboard is the fridge freezer, but the interesting bit about this area is the bit in between the cupboard and the fridge. So these 2 planks here, they hide all the brains behind the van. So in there's a fuse box, the solar charge controller, the inverter controller. What else is in there? My broadband is in there. There's a whole load of stuff in there that I access through a flap in the cupboard that is the brains behind the van. So the solar wires run down here behind this wood and they go straight into there. And then they go into the solar charge controller, MPPT, which is a Victron 130, I think is the model. Goes to the 2 lithium batteries, which are 110 amp hours each. And then back into the fuse board, and it's spread out throughout the van to various places where I can charge things. So if you look up here, this is the most obvious one. This is a USB point. There are 5 of them spread throughout the van. And that runs 12 volt DC power, which most things will run on. But you'll see that I'm currently uploading some stuff on my laptop, and my laptop uses a standard house plug, an AC plug, and that's hidden behind here. So I can turn that on and off. It's 1800 watts. It uses quite a lot of power, but I've got quite a lot of power coming in from the solar. And if you look around the van, you'll see that most things have at least 2 uses. There's not much space, and I have to be careful of everything that goes in here because of the weight. So most things have got at least 2 uses, perhaps 3. But then everything needs a contingency. So as well as the water, I've got water tanks in the back that I can fill up just in case this breaks or freezes over or something goes wrong here. Just like with the power, as well as the solar power, I've got power coming from the engine. So there's a split charge running to the alternator that also tops up the batteries. So if anything goes wrong with the solar panels, I'm still making my own power. Up at the back there is a full-size double bed. And I was quite impressed I managed to get a full-size double bed in there, but I did. And it's very, very comfortable. It's quite high up, so it's kind of like, what are they called? It's kind of like a Japanese pod hotel in that you have sort of squeeze into the space, but once you're in it, it feels more open than it looks from the outside. All the clothes are stored beside it in 2 shelves, which I'm calling the wardrobe. And then the rest of the van is all hidden in the back. There's a massive garage space, and I've also got a printer on a slide out so I can print anywhere I am in the world. So we talked about the solar charge controller there. Those cables come from this 385 watt solar panel fixed up on the roof there, and I can tilt that so I can point it at the sun if I'm in the Arctic and there isn't a lot of sunlight available, so I can maximize on that. That's mounted on some Titan roof bars. The next thing on the roof as we go back is my skylight. It's a Dometic Heki 2 and it is enormous, but it sits right above the bed. So I can sit in a bed at night looking up at the stars, and the amount of shooting stars I've seen already is phenomenal. And the next thing back from that, I've got lights all the way around at the back, on the left, on the right, and 2 facing backwards. And it's the same lights as the rock lights on the front. So they will light up the whole area if I need to, if I want to see what's going on, or if I need to set up camp or anything like that. And I also talked about the reverse camera that I have, which is right here. So I've got 2 cameras facing backwards, one for security and one for vision. I think that's the reverse camera and that's the security camera. So I can always see what's going on outside as well. More security on the back, and a step which is obviously very handy for sitting on when you're having a cup of coffee outside. And that takes us into the garage area. Now it's a mess because it's not ready, but this is it. You can see the bed here, so I've got access to the mattress in order to change the sheets or anything like that. And I've got this headboard here that I made, which is a piece of wood, with some pipe insulation on it and some fabric stapled over the top, which I thought was very clever. Next to that, we've got some hanging space, and the hanging space is for my big heavy winter jackets. There's a couple of hooks there, and there's also some hooks here. And then that leads us to these boxes. This one's for the camping stuff. This one's photography stuff like tripods and things that I don't need to access that often. And a ladder here that gets me up onto the roof. I've also got these max tracks because every now and then I might get stuck. I have been stuck in rental cars in the snow and the ice and had to get rescued, and I don't want to get rescued in this. So I've got as much as I can to self-rescue, including these max tracks and some ropes and winch pulleys and all sorts of other stuff. And then that leads to the fun stuff. Everything else in here is about having fun. So there's all the tools and the fluids and some spare water all tucked in down here, but there's also a sledge, ice skates, ice axe, climbing ropes. There's my ski poles. The skis are down the side there. A hammock, just some shelters, all my walking shoes. These are all my other trainers, the ones that are out of action, so I can switch my shoes up whenever I need to. The whole back of the van, apart from all this useful stuff, is all about having fun and having adventures while I'm on the road. Well, that's pretty much it. That's Coffee Fernweh. I'm Dave Williams, and you can find everything about me and the van at idavewilliams.com. Thank you for having a little look around with me.